Unit 4.3 Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange, named after the famous Italian explorer and navigator Christopher Columbus' arrival to the New World in 1492, is a widespread transfer of plants, animals, culture, human populations, technology, diseases, and ideas amongst the New World, West Africa, and the Old World. The Columbian Exchange can be described as a triangular trade led by Europeans amongst themselves, the native people living in America, and Africans arriving from within the continent of Africa. During the Columbian Exchange, hundreds of Europeans ventured into the Americas. Most of these foreigners have previously been exposed to diseases. Although so deadly to them, they developed certain immunities to diseases. Upon contact with Native Americans for the first time, they carried these deadly diseases, which came into contact with the unprepared Native Americans. As a result of lacking strong immunities to carry diseases such as leprosy, malaria, typhus, and the most deadly smallpox, they quickly died up in large groups. Diseases carried out from Europe is the leading cause in population death and catastrophe during the Columbian Exchange. The transition from the Old World to the New World allowed for the exchange of hundreds of unique animals, foods, and ingredients native to certain regions. From this exchange, some of the animals involved were able to be domesticated. As a result, some of the domesticated animals were used to perform certain tasks or goals the average human couldn't. The domestication of animals allowed for the ease in people's daily lifestyles and jobs. Animals and foods both transitioned between the New World to the Old World, as to the Old World to the New World. Animals from Europe to the Americas included pigs, sheep, and horses. These animals revolutionized agriculture and transportation. The Americas got Europe access to turkeys, alpacas, and guinea pigs, which are now common household pets. The Old World presented the New World with new fruits like oranges and bananas, while the New World got Europe cash crops like cotton and tobacco. These revolutionized agriculture and the economy. After Europe gained access to the New World cash crops like cotton and tobacco, they needed people to labor in the fields to grow, harvest, and manage the crops. This led to the import of thousands of Africans into the New World. The presence of Africans in the New World was intended for the sole purpose of working in plantations all day. Africans were only fed and maintained so they can live another day of forced labor. Only the strongest of the African population made the journey from their homeland to the New World, and only the fittest were able to thrive in servitude. Africans did retain some of their culture and language. Multiple African tribes ended joining in the New World, each with related yet separate culture. Amongst themselves, they shared their music, language, and even influenced food and recipes in the New World, which Europeans took in. An example of African food brought to the New World is gumbo. Due to the Columbian Exchange, hundreds of Europeans traveled to the New World. They all lived in a different lifestyle in comparison to the natives. They adapted their lifestyle in the Americas, benefiting off the agriculture and environment. They ended up cutting more trees than needed. The excessive tree loss called deforestation malnourished the soil and made harvests scarce and poor, as they cut down trees to clear areas for planting crops, and they created large fields that they cultivated year after year. They ended up depleting their soil. Another major resource we're competing over became water, as limited sources and amounts failed to maintain the large growing European populations. The Columbian Exchange granted many economic benefits and new things that revolutionized the worldwide market. For one, the slave trade taking place was an impactful and successful way to make money due to Africans being in high demand in the New World. Secondly, the animals, fruits, and food found in exchange added variety to the market globally as they were exchanged. Similarly, animals, especially the ones capable of domestications, were in high demand, seen as they benefited greatly in the agricultural lifestyle. Most importantly, cash crops such as cotton and tobacco made a huge impact in how the market and demand played out during the Columbian Exchange, as people developed and paid highly for these crops to have access to them. The Columbian Exchange is known to be extremely involved in the social aspect between the Europeans, the Native Americans, and eventually the Africans. Upon arrival to the New World, the Europeans were already superior in many aspects, both physical with their immunities and clearly more advanced than the native population. To the common eye, their very first introduction set the foundation for the evidence and facts of Europeans being superior to Native Americans. As for Africans, being forced labor set the future for slavery, and the social placement of Africans and African Americans up to the point of them being fully accepted into the modern world. The Columbian Exchange changed global perspectives on race, ethnic groups, and altered the global economy. Through the interactions amongst Europeans and its people, the Americans and its natives the Africans and their diverse ethnic groups. An exchange of ideology, culture, and product occurred. Cash crops arose and boosted the economy, and battle of agriculture like never seen before. Animals and domestications made transportation and daily lifestyles easier. Despite all the benefits, Africans and Native Americans endured punishment and death through the presence of foreign Europeans and their illness. The foreign animals, crops, and merchandise they brought to the Americas quickly devastated the environment. The environment suffered tremendously, and the very few of the native people lived to see the destruction of their homeland. The Columbian Exchange is an experience both for the benefit and punishment of the America, Europe, and Africa, than the rest of the developing global economy and society.